Students, this is your second 6 weeks test review video. Our second 6 weeks test is going to be on 11-4. We're going to review some of these problems before class, but I'm going to go ahead and work some of them here in more detail, so that way you'll kind of have a heads up on types of things you're going to see. Alright, this one talks about the slope. Okay. Two ways we can do slope. The first thing I always check is slope face and see if that'll help me answer the question. Okay. After slope face, then I think about stat edit. Alright, so in this case, my line is right here. Okay, so the first thing I would check is it's not slanting up, it's not slanting down, and it's not flat, so it's this one right here in the middle. Okay? And that U stands for undefined, so this is an undefined slope. Okay? So I check slope face first because that way, if it's slanting uphill, I know it's positive, I would go get rid of all the negatives. Okay? If it's slanting downhill, I know it's negative, I'd go get rid of all the positives. If it's flat, I would know it's 0. So I always check slope face first. If you tried stat edit on this one, you would get an error message because this is a vertical line, and vertical lines are x equals graph. So the actual equation of this is x equals the number there, x equals -3. Okay, and there's a question like that on the test too, that you have to come up with the equation for that. And if it's a vertical, it's always x equal. If it's horizontal, then it's y equals. Okay. This one says let f of x equal 2x plus 1. So this is f of x right here. And g of x is this one down here. It's 2x minus 4. This one's 2x plus 1 because it crosses at 1. This one's minus 4 because it crosses at minus 4. Both of them have a slope of 2, up 2 over 1. And that's what keeps them parallel to each other. It says use the graphs of f and g to describe the transformation from f to g. So f to g means that it did that. So it did not go left, it did not go up, and it did not go right. It went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units down. We didn't even study left or right movement, so it definitely couldn't be those. We only studied up and down. So it used to be at 1, now it's at minus 4, so that's down. Right. I'm not going to work number 8 for you, but I'm going to help you get it set up. Anytime we're trying to come up with these linear equations, it's a stat edit problem. But what you need to do is be able to figure out what are my x's and what are my y's and stack them on top of each other. So this used to say f of x equals y, so that means x is the -3 and y is the +3. This was f of x equals y, so the x is 0 and the y is -1. Okay. If you'll do stat edit to that, then you'll be able to find the correct answer. Okay. Number 9, when you see point slope form, you got to think of your point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, well, we're going to plug in here, here, and here. Okay. So here's our x1 and our y1, and here's our m. So our y1 is 11, so y minus 11. Our m is 4, and our x1 is 1. Okay, so I plug in those parts there. Once you get those parts plugged in, the only thing you have to do is distribute here. So this is y minus 11 equals 4 times x is 4x. 4 times a -1 is -4. And then the last step is just adding the other side over. So you're either going to add or subtract here. It's always going to be your last step. So those cancel out. So I get y equals 4x. Type this in your calculator. Okay? No matter how good you are at math, I want you to type this in and make sure that you get it right. So -4 plus 11 is +7. Okay? So I don't see that one on here. Okay? So then if this isn't there, then the next place you have to check is did they leave it in point slope form? So do we see a y minus 11 equals 4 times x minus 1? And we do. That answer is right here. So this was left in point slope form. Okay? And I guess it would have probably made more sense for us to have checked that before we did all the work, but it's okay. We solved it anyway. But when I plug everything in, this is called point slope form, and this is called slope intercept form. It can be left in either one of the ways. Okay? And it tells us right here, if we had read better, write an equation in point slope form. So that meant that C and D were wrong already because they weren't in the right form. Okay. Remember when you're doing these to take account this negative here? A lot of times we'll plug in a negative. So here's an example. If we were to plug in a negative, we would get a double negative like that, and those double negatives have to be changed to positives. Okay? So no double negatives. You got to take care of that part first. So negative negative equals a positive. All right, here's some more practice at point slope. It says write an equation of a line that passes through the given point and parallel to the given line. So parallel means that it's going to have the same slope as that, so it's going to have a slope of -2. So y minus x1, y1. So y minus 5 equals our m times x minus -6. So the first thing we have to do is change this to a plus. Okay? This would be point slope form. I look up there, none of them, they haven't been left in point slope form, so I got to keep going. Distribute. So y minus 5 equals -2 times x is -2x. -2 times 6 is -12. And last step, add 5 to both sides, and I get y equals -2x. -12 plus 5, -7. So A is the right answer. Okay. We could tell that it was, oops, no, that's not right, because that's in the positive. Those two were wrong because they were positive. D is the right answer. Number 11 says write an equation of a line that passes through the given point and is perpendicular. Perpendicular were negative reciprocals. So you flip it and change the sign. So this has a slope of 4 over 1. So we're going to flip it and change the sign. So this will be our slope, -1/4. This is going to be our x1, this will be our y1. So we have y minus 4 equals -1/4 times x minus 4. Right. Again, looking at our answer choices, we know it's not B or D because they have the wrong slope. Draw our line down. Distribute. Y minus 4 equals -1/4 x. -1/4 times -4. Again, type that in your calculator. It's +1. Add 4 to both sides. And so y equals -1/4 x plus 5. So A is the right answer. We'll give you point slope formula on the test, so you'll have the formula. You don't need to memorize it. The city council members at a small coastal town want to construct a new boardwalk along the beach. They want the boardwalk shown in bold. So this is the boardwalk. To be perpendicular to the road leading to the beach. So this is the road. Write an equation that represents the boardwalk. So we're looking for this line right here. Okay? Well, I know that it crosses right there at -4. So when I'm thinking about y equals mx plus b, the b has to be -4. So that gets rid of A and D. The next thing I notice about this line is that this line is going uphill. So that means that m has to be a positive number. I look at my remaining choices. B is a negative number. So C has to be the right answer. Okay. You could also go to y equals in your calculator, plug each one of these in, and see which one is that bold line. That might be a faster way too for some of you guys. Okay. I didn't have a calculator here, so I was just trying to do it through kind of common sense and reasoning. So which statements are not true about the equation x equals 10y? The graph is a line that passes through the origin. X and y do not show direct variation. The constant of variation is 1/10. So I got to get this thing solved for y. So x equals 10y. I think flip-flopping those would be a good start. 10y equals x. Put a 1 by here. I'm solving for this, so I divide both sides by 10. And y equals 1/10 x. So you could type this in your calculator and see if it crosses through the origin. The other thing to look at is because there's nothing on the end, that means the b is 0, so it does go through the origin. So we're looking for not true. That is true. A direct variation is y equals kx. So this says that x and y do not show direct variation. So if I line this up And does this fit the mold of a direct variation? Y equals k is a number and x. So this looks like that's a true statement, which is going to make it the right answer. The constant of variation is k, so that is a true statement also. So B is the right answer because it's not true. This thing does show a direct variation. Right. Which statement is true about the function x plus 2y equals 4? Anytime I have it in standard form like that, I like to use the cover technique to find my x and y intercept. So x plus 2y equals 4. X plus 2y equals 4. And I would typically just cover this in my hand, but since on the computer you can't see my hand, I'm going to just kind of black it out. So if I wanted to find the x, I would cover the y, and you can see that x equals 4. So my x-intercept has to be 4. So my graph has to cross there. So that means this one is wrong. Okay. That one doesn't say x-intercept. This says the x-intercept is 2, so that's wrong. This says that it's 4, so that looks right. Okay. The next one, if I were to cover this, let's say if I want to find the y, I'm going to cover the x, divide both sides by 2, and the y-intercept is 2, so this is true also. So C and D are the right answers because it says which statements are true. So sometimes you might have more than one. Not always. Usually on the test we just make one right answer, but this one did have 2 right answers. Alright, that's it.